Got it. All right. Well, I believe we're live. So welcome everybody to our very exciting NAR topic for the day. I know it's definitely a hot button topic that we all want to know about. I in particular, I mean, I've heard the rumors, but I haven't done a ton of research yet. So Laura, I'm so excited. So yeah, we are She Spark Society. We're a group of women realtors, and we're just that. We're here to support each other and grow and support. So Laura, before we dig into the topic, my favorite question to ask agents, and feel free to mention your background. You're not only an agent, but you do coaching.
Sure.
Birth to real estate in 5 minutes or less.
Okay, that's 25 years to cover in 4 states, but I'll go.
You're gonna do it. It's gonna be great.
No, it's fine. So I am the daughter of a realtor. I grew up trying to escape it, sitting around the dining room table, begging, is there anything else we can talk about besides real estate? And now fast forward 25 years, I have now a 23-year-old who's getting licensed. And that's what I do to my children too. So like I said, I started in Virginia. And then I moved to South Carolina and opened up my own firm in South Carolina at the worst possible time you can open a firm in 2006 to 2010. Sold that to the largest Coldwell Banker franchise in the Low Country, and then moved to North Carolina for 10 months. Licked my wounds, and then moved to Nashville, Tennessee, where I opened a second firm, grew that to 72 agents, and then closed that in September of 2021. And now I operate a team of 10 in Nashville. I live actually in Asheville. I just moved here about a month ago. And and I still operate a team in Nashville and have a license in Asheville. So as you mentioned, primarily my focus these days is I do a lot more coaching, training, and mentoring. And but we still sell a great amount of real estate, but I lean on my team a lot for that. And so my passion is actually helping agents grow their businesses, pouring into agents, taking $3 million producers and turning them into a $7 million producer, or a 10 million to a 25. So that's where I specialize in. I was really grateful that you asked me to come chat on this topic, because I know it's very scary to a lot of agents right now. There's a lot of rumors, and there's a lot of panic, and I'm here to dispel a lot of the myths, to really help you reframe some of your thoughts about what the lawsuit means for you as an agent, and ways that you can combat some conversations about how we get paid. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you.
I love that. That's awesome. So we are a broker agnostic group, but I'm curious, are you still independent or are you with a brokerage?
No, I am independent. I was very fortunate. I found a brokerage here, was a broker of one. And having owned my own firm before, that's really tough. You're very selective about where you go. And she is semi-retired, so I kind of operate on my own, and I am a broker, so I don't really need a lot of supervision and help. But if I were to build a team here, I'd have to find a new place to go. So there's that. So
Cool.
she's
Well,
happy to have just me, but not a big team. So that's okay. But I am at City Home Realty in Nashville. So
nice. Well,
yeah,
welcome. I like so
thank
your
you.
now your time is just spent overemphasizing Nashville or Asheville.
Correct. Correct. I
You're like,
always
oh,
have to
you live
say
in Nashville. I was like, no, I don't.
I always have to say Nashville with an N, and I feel like I speak sign language because I always go with an N. It's so weird. But yes,
I love
we
it.
love
Cool.
it here.
Let's dig in. So let's start from somebody who's just like seen some headlines and are like, I don't even know what's going on.
Okay, do you mind if I drop a link in the chat?
Please. Yeah, and if
Okay,
it helps to like screen share for anything, I can make you admin. Just let me know.
sure. If you, well, you'd probably rather see my handout than my face, but it's entirely up to you guys. So
That's
actually,
true.
you're fine. So what I've given you guys is, and we're gonna blow through a lot of this. I'm not gonna read it all to you, I promise you. But I definitely want to make sure that you guys understand the background of what's happening and what the lawsuit actually means. So one thing I want you to know is that people out there think that we get paid too much money. Imagine that. Even though the national average of agents sales across the country is less than 7 deals a year. And in this year is actually less than that, because obviously the market came to a screeching halt in a lot of areas of the country. And so what I want you to understand is that the way that we've been paid in the past is likely not going to continue. And the lawsuit basically says that the National Association of Realtors and several large companies that you all know very well, they have all colluded together to keep commissions at a high rate and kind of work together to outprice the consumer or to overcharge consumers, right? There's also some discussion that people, agents specifically, in this case was against realtors, but I use the word agents interchangeably all the time. But agents specifically were not honest about how they got paid, right? So they would say, my services are completely free. The seller pays my fee. You don't have to worry about paying me. The seller's going to pay me. Those phrases have been used for years and years and years by buyers agents across the country, and that's not accurate. That's not truth, right? And so the lawsuit came through because people were upset about how we get paid, how it's communicated, how we get paid. And you can click on the link that I gave you guys in the drive. I've actually given you a copy of the lawsuit so you can read it. There's also some summaries in there, some handouts. I basically gave you access to my whole folder on this topic that has some other resources. And on page 4, there's some other links that you can dig in deeper. But to save you the history lesson, the summary is that the way we get paid is going to change. The question is, when is that going to happen and what is that going to look like for us, which is what we're going to talk about today. So the reality is that the lawsuit actually, ruled in the plaintiff's favor. So that means that there's a $1 billion lawsuit out there, and there are now going to be tons of counter lawsuits. And you're not going to see a resolution of this for at least 1 to 2 years, maybe 3 to 4. And so when I say changes are coming, there may not be imminent. They may not happen today. Some brokerages are already making some changes about language that we use, disclosures that your clients are going to sign, and things like that. And I'm going to talk about those in a minute that you might see. But really, what it's going to come down to is the way that you interact with your clients and how you fight for your money and how you're going to ask to get paid. Okay. You're going to see some shifts because of the counter lawsuits, because of the way we currently get paid, and that is changing. You're going to see some shifts from traditional commission-based models at brokerages, changing to some fee-based models or paycheck-based, like W-2. They're going to turn some agents into W-2 agents, and maybe they charge flat fees or hourly rates to work with people. It is going to disrupt how we get paid in some areas of the country more than others. So just know that how we get paid today is going to change, okay? You are going to have to be much more transparent with your clients about how you get paid and how the money is divided among the brokerages, because the consumer does not understand that. And you have to understand, because there's a lot of people going, how did they win this argument? This is how it's been done for centuries or whatever. The reality is they're always going to put themselves in the place of what's best for the consumer. Just like your real estate commissions in whatever state you're licensed in, they will always look at what is in the best interest of the consumer, not the industry as a whole. And the consumer feels duped. The consumer feels tricked. The consumer felt like they paid too much money. So what we're going to have to do as agents is we're going to have to rely on being much more transparent and explaining, how do I get paid in this process? In order for you to get paid, some of you are going to have to get much better at explaining what all you do and what your role in the transaction is, right? So I've also given you in that folder of resources, there's a list of like 179 or 183, I don't remember the number, sorry, 180 things that a realtor does. You're going to have to get really good at explaining to people what all you do. Because right now they think you show up, open a door, and they think they found the house themselves, so they don't owe you any money. It used to be when we were the gatekeepers, back when I first got a license, and I always joke and say when dinosaurs roamed the earth, when I first got my license, we carried around MLS in a book. We were the gatekeepers of the information, and that meant they did rely on us to help them find the house. That was one of the major things that we helped do. But that's no longer the case. Consumers have all the data available at their fingertips. They don't need us to find the house. They will find the house on their own. They need us to do the other 182 things that they're hiring us to help them with. And that is where you cannot see yourself as a salesperson If you think of yourself as a salesperson, you've already lost here. You're not in sales. You are in a service industry. Your job is to consult with buyers and sellers and help them and aid them in the process of buying or selling a home. The house is going to sell itself or it won't, right? Your job is to prepare it, but you're not in sales. Part of the reason we don't do some of that, and this is a whole other topic, but part of the reason we don't do some of the activities that we're supposed to do is because we feel yucky. We feel icky, like salespeople, like we're bothering people. And when you change your mindset around, I am not here as a salesperson, I'm here as a consultant, a professional that you hire to navigate getting through this process, you will then approach your activities in a different way, that you're not bothering people and you're not in sales. So I do want you to understand that there is a great fear. This is what I hear in the industry right now, is that people are very concerned that we're going to make a whole lot less money than we've ever made, right? I will tell you, in the last 5 years, I've made more money in the last 5 years than I have in my whole career. And that's because the prices have gone crazy. You know, we had a feeding frenzy on homes. We turned into order takers where people just showed up and said, I want to buy this house. You know, we didn't have to market listings for 180 days or 250 days. We were glorified order takers. And as the market shifts and changes, as it always does, you're going to have to move yourself from an order taker to someone who's proactively approaching clients and proactively approaching your business, right? There is going to be a shift from traditional things. There may be some reduced earnings if commission percentages decrease. Does that mean for you, when you're planning your goals for next year, do you need to then start thinking about, well, I might not get paid my normal percentage that I'm accustomed to? What does that mean in terms of how many more houses do I have to sell to meet my financial needs? You need to think about that. You are going to have to adapt to new models to maintain the same income that you've been used to, right? All right, so ways that you can insert your value, because this is going to be the most important thing that you do when meeting with your clients. They need to, especially if your client is paying you out of pocket, if they're paying you a difference, if they're paying you a percentage, if they're paying you anything themselves, they need to know you're worth it. And the reality is that the more value you insert, the less questions there are about whether or not you're worth it. You should be inserting your value in such a way that there is no question about whether or not you're the right person for the job. If they question if you're the right person for the job, the likelihood of them paying you goes out the window, right? It's going to keep diminishing. So you've got to work with, and this is why it's especially important too, that you really identify who your target client is. Stop trying to be everyone to everybody, everything to everyone. You've got to really drill down on who it is I want to work with, because those people are not going to question your value. Those are the people you're going to attract because they know your worth. They know that I need representation. That is the other part, is that you've got to be good at explaining to people why you're needed, right? I could dye my own hair and cut my own hair, but should I? No, I really shouldn't even be doing my own taxes, right? Those are things that I know I could get myself into big trouble because I don't possess the skill set to do it well. And that is something we need to be better at communicating to a client. You can find the house on your own. I'm not worried about you finding the house. What I'm worried about is all the things that could go wrong if you try to buy this house without my help. What could happen? You need to think about the problems that could exist without representation and then highlight and focus those. And it's not to make them so scared that they have to go get representation, but the goal is to make them aware that it's just like a for sale by owner right now. What are all the things that could happen if you try to do this yourself? You want to make it so it's a no-brainer, right? I need this person, or I could be in deep trouble, right? I could be subject to lawsuits I don't even know about. I could really lose a lot of money or leave money on the table. I'm a horrible negotiator. I shouldn't do that myself, right? I'd give away the farm. There's a lot of people that are in that position. So some of the ways that you can insert your value, number one, is you've got to be an expert in your market. You have got to know more about what's happening in that neighborhood than any other agent. If you are farming a neighborhood, you need to know those 3 data points: what the list price to sales price ratio is, what concessions on average are sellers giving, and what the average days on the market in that neighborhood are. Those are 3 fun facts you should be able to pull out of your pocket at any moment if you're actively working or farming a neighborhood or sitting for a listing appointment, right? You need to be an expert and you need to know the trends of what's happening around you. You need to highlight your negotiation skills. This is something that people are hiring you for. And if you're not good at this, this is something you need to work on. When people push back on you a little bit, do you put your tail between your legs and run? Do you cower? Do you cave into everything they say because you've only been in real estate a couple of years? Or are you a pit bull on a bone that nobody wants to work with because you don't give an inch? Nobody wants to work with people like that. But there is a sweet spot in the middle that you can hone your negotiation skills to make sure you're doing what's best for your clients and what's best for all parties, not just your client to win. You do need to work on your client testimonials and reviews, and you're going to need to present them in a different way. Static pictures of a testimonial mean nothing, really. They read it, but it's not as impactful as a video testimonial of a client where people can read their body language and see how they talk, right? Your clients might be nervous about that, but those testimonials are going to go a lot further than just a list of 50 happy clients, right? Provide phone numbers that people can call. What was it like working with her? If your clients are willing to do that. You might have to have some customized services. And what that means is like, can you tailor your clients to your services to your clients' needs? Are there things specifically that you do that other people don't? I have an agent that I coached. She would actually hire a driver for showings, right? For out of town people that were only going to be in town for 2 or 3 days. She would hire a driver because she could then focus on giving them more information about going through comps, about talking about the process. And she didn't have to worry about traffic or parking or all those things. The driver handled that, right? But are there customized services that you would put in place for any of your clients? That's where your value is going to be. What makes me different than all the other agents? You're going to have access to things clients don't. Do you have a network for off market listings or coming soon things? Because again, the consumer thinks you are still responsible for helping them find the house. And sometimes it is. In a tight market, think about Asheville where the market is so tight and the inventory is still pretty low. What is available is not what a lot of people want, right? Or it's too expensive. It's the highs and lows and there's nothing in between. You have to go be the resource for that. How can you go find off-market listings that other agents don't have access to? What is your plan for that? You should have streamlined processes. So you need to highlight to your clients how working with you saves them time. It also protects them for legal matters. What else is it that you're doing to help them sidestep problems that are going to happen in the future? And highlight those things. Obviously, your legal and contractual expertise. Do you think the consumer has ever even read a contract in North Carolina and what it says and what the obligations are? No, most of them have no idea, right? You could do a video series highlighting certain parts of the contract and explaining what the consumer needs to know, like the paragraph that says what comes with the house and what doesn't. Your sellers don't even know what that says, right? But they're relying on us to know that. And so you can separate yourself from other agents because I know you guys have worked with agents who have never read the contracts. I have too, right? When I point out things to them and I say, hey, I'm talking about Tennessee right now, but it says that you're supposed to have the utilities on for the final walkthrough, or this is supposed to be left behind according to paragraph 1. Our clients don't know that because they don't read it. So our job is to know it like the back of our hand and make sure we know what the contract says and what the rights are of each party, right? That's what they're coming to you for. That's the expertise that you share. You should have market insights. What's happening? Is there money earmarked by board of like the mayor's board or the municipalities? Is there money earmarked for projects development? That's typically where you're going to see some better investment opportunities, right? Or where they're revitalizing neighborhoods or areas of town. Typically, those are going to be hot spots for real estate happenings, right? But what market insights or trends do you see or can you pick up on that will help you be a better agent? What tools do you use that other agents don't have access to, or tools that you use to make your service better. Evaluate your tools now. Everybody I know is evaluating all of their monthly spend, and they are really looking at, do I need this tool or not? And you know, the biggest tool that you have, the most important tool that you have is your phone. You don't need all the other tools, bells and whistles, but there may be some tools out there that help you be a better agent. Maybe you use, Matterport or Scatterplot or all kinds of tools that help you be a better agent. But how does your client benefit from that? That's what we're not good at. We have tons of tools and things that we use, but it's behind the curtain. You're going to have to be more transparent in making sure your clients know what you're utilizing to help them. You definitely need to improve your education. So attending more classes, what are common things that come up in home inspections? What are common financing options that you're seeing in the marketplace right now that could help people? Remember, you guys know tons of lenders that have, and Kimmy, you're a lender, right? Or you, I'm trying to remember.
I actually
Somebody's
have a home
lender.
inspection company, so I can
Oh,
do the
that's right. I'm
part.
sorry. Forgive me. Somebody,
And a
I talked to
GC.
somebody else that was a lender. Forgive me.
Yeah.
But you are all friends with lenders, and you have tons of relationships with lenders. You know, a lot of times the right product is what you need to get your target client. So if you work exclusively with doctors, you want to partner with a lender that has physician type loans and then highlight those loans. That makes you the person that, even though that's not a product exclusively to you, it's exclusive knowledge for you that you have that maybe other agents don't know about, right? So are there financing options that you can highlight? And you will start to see, just so you guys know, you're going to start to see as things change in our industry that there are going to be mortgage products out there that are going to allow you to wrap in some of your fee, that are going to allow, maybe it's a secondary note that takes a third state or something like that, but they may allow them to roll that into the loan. But you're going to see some changes that are going to be a necessity because the average consumer does not have $15,000 or $30,000 or whatever that is laying around to pay your fee. So you're going to see some, I call them disruptors. You're going to see some companies that are going to pop up that will allow someone to finance that fee or add it to their loan or whatever that is. So be on the lookout and be knowledgeable about those resources when they come down the pipe. You've got to use your network better. We are the chairman of the board, the CEO of our own, board of directors, meaning that we partner with inspectors, lenders, title companies, title attorneys, landscapers, professionals, all kinds of professionals, all kinds of things. But is your team a reflective of the same level of service that you provide? Are they also supporting you in your business? Do they resell you to the client? Right? These are things, if these are people are not doing what you're doing, if they're not matching your level of service, you need to find new team members, period. The transparency is basically you're going to have to talk right up front about your fee structure. This is where most agents are uncomfortable because they think they're salespeople. Number one, that's wrong. And number two, they don't like asking. I see it out every day right now where people fill out buyer broker agreements and they will put a percentage on the line that this is my fee, but then they go and sell them a house where the fee is a percent less than what they wrote on the paper. And they never go to the client and say, hey, there's a difference between what they're agreeing to pay me and what my fee is, because it feels icky. They don't feel justified in asking for it. That's why it's super important if you go back and say, what is my value here? I am running around with these people for a year. I have gone through 2 sets of bald tires over a year, running them up and down the streets, through these mountains, looking at houses, and they finally buy one, and it's not for the fee is not what I charge. You have got to be okay with saying on the front end, when you do your buyer consultation appointment, you need to talk about how you get paid and what is going to happen if the fee that someone is agreeing to pay you does not match the fee that you charge. Okay. And if you have inserted your value in enough places up front, the people will pay your fee if they find it valuable. They will find a way, right? But if you haven't, the answer is going to be, well, I'm not paying it. And then what? Do you fire your client? Do you keep working with them? That's for you to decide because it's your business. But I will tell you, I have had many a client pay the difference of the fee, right? So I want you to understand, like, you've got to be very transparent up front. Your clients will appreciate trustworthiness and honesty on the front end versus you waiting until you go under contract to say, hey, by the way, you owe me an extra 1%. That's not going to work, right? Talk about it in the very beginning. You should have a client focused approach. Your commitment is to them achieving their goals, not your commission. If you will put your people before the paychecks, you will always win. When you start counting your commission, you've already lost, right? Because remember, this is going to be people centered. They're ones paying you now, not the seller. So now more than ever, you need to make sure that your services are above what they expect. You are exceeding those services. Continued education, obviously you want to stay up to date. You want to look at case studies and tell stories. How did you meet a client? These are the best ways to get more business. How did you meet a client? Where'd you find them? What was their goal? What did you do to help them achieve their goal? What was the end result? Get good at telling those stories, not just a testimonial that says, oh, Laura was great. She helped us find our dream home. Well, that's a lie. You're not finding anybody their dream home. You're finding them their 90% home, probably, just because of lack of inventory. Nobody's really buying their dream home, right? So talk case studies, talk about how you helped people overcome challenges and how you help them achieve their goals, but get better at telling stories. You need to expand your referral network to make sure that you have people that are valuable to your clients. So for example, I have a savings bundle in Tennessee for all of my clients. They get a free appraisal from my lender. They get a free Ring doorbell. They get $350 off alarm system. They get 10% off of their moving discount. So I have a bundle that I put together with all these various service providers that together we save our client over $3,000 if they work with me, right? So look at the other thing is I get every one of my clients, they get a free consultation with a financial planner and an estate attorney, right? That estate attorney, we've passed people back and forth all day long, but that's my network of people that when a client buys a house from me, they just don't get new keys. They now get some financial freedom. They also get protection for their family, right? That's a big deal. I'd be willing to pay for that. I didn't have to pay an attorney. I didn't have to pay a financial advisor either, right? Or maybe you just give them 3 hours worth of a deep house cleaning or organization. It doesn't matter what it is, but what's the value you're bringing in? What's the value of your network? And what have you negotiated that's beneficial to your clients? Okay. Your communication skills have to be on point, meaning that you have got to get better at keeping your client informed throughout the transaction, what's going on, right? Some of us, if there's no news, it's good news, and you don't talk to your client, and there's a big lull in between. You've negotiated the home inspection and the appraisal's been done, and now we're just waiting for closing. Well, the absence of communication breeds assumption, and you don't ever want your client to assume you're not working. So you need to keep them updated every single week about what's happening, even if there's nothing happening. Hey, I checked on your loan status. I checked on the house. I've talked with the listing agent and here's what's going on. Here's their moving plans. Here's the utilities. You've got to get better at communicating with them. And then again, do they have any savings? Illustrate how your services save them money or help them make better decisions. The brokerage business models and profitability is changing. Right now, the overhead, I've owned 2 independent firms. I'll tell you, the margin is real small. People think, oh, I'm going to go become a broker. I'm going to make all this money off all these agents. Well, you're not making money if nobody's selling anything. And you still have the overhead. In Tennessee, I had $30,000 a month worth of overhead that I had to pay whether somebody sold something or not. And so my point to you is that as profitability changes, as our compensation plans changes, as more and more people get out of the business, you're going to see some plans and models change as well. The other thing is that the clients are going to also have a different perspective regarding your fee. You're going to have to work harder to explain to them and be more transparent with them about why they should pay you, right? You're going to need to explain right up front. So ways that you need to get paid, and I'm going to go real fast. I'm sorry. Buyer broker, am I doing okay on time? Y'all are okay? All right. You are going to have to start with your buyer broker agreements earlier on in the conversation. I do have a podcast somewhere out there that's like the importance of a buyer broker agreement. There are a lot of agents that don't get that signed until they're writing an offer. That is dangerous. That is dangerous, and you should not ever do that. It should be when you have the first substantive conversation with them about real estate. So what I do in my practice is everybody gets one free ride. I will meet with you one time. I will show you a house. I will talk with you about your goals. But then I'm going to introduce to you, hey, the next time we meet, I'm going to need to talk to you about hiring me to be your agent, officially hiring me legally to be your agent. So I'm introducing the document to them, but I'm not shoving it at them the first time I meet them. I don't know if I want to marry them yet. We're still dating, right? So I'm definitely going to introduce it to them, but you need to get better at introducing this document to them early on in the transaction. You're going to get some pushback. There are going to be clients who say, I'm not signing that. There's going to be some clients who say, I'm not willing to commit to you. There's even going to be some that say, I'm not going to agree to pay you when I don't know what that's going to look like. You're going to have to work on your objections and your decision making about whether or not you want to continue to work with this client. That is going to be ultimately your choice. But I have a limited amount of time available. And I'm not going to go through 2 sets of tires on my vehicle and chase people all over town at 4 o'clock, sit in traffic for an hour to get on the other side of the mountain for someone to tell me that they're not willing to commit to me. I want to know right up front that you're in this with me. And if you're my target client, you're going to be in this with me or you're not, right? And if you're not, I'm not going to waste my time. But you've got to get good at deciding for yourself how much time you are willing to invest in people that won't commit to you. Your time is going to be limited and valuable. So introduce it early on. Make sure it's clearly outlined about how you're going to get paid. Make sure that they understand the fees that are involved. Make sure that they understand what could happen if they buy something that does not have your full fee agreed to be paid to you. What does that look like for them? Tell them that right up front so that there's no surprise. I promise you, every client that's paid me the difference between what was offered and what my fee was, we talked about it early in the very beginning stages. And so when it happened, there was no surprise. They were already prepared. But it is your decision. But my thought is, if you're not going to enforce it, why are you even getting it signed? Most agents won't take their clients to court. There's a lot of clients out there that are shady, and they'll do whatever they want in their own best interest. And this is how we feed our family. This is how we support our homes. So either treat it like a business, and any business owner that had a contractual agreement with somebody that was not upheld would enforce it. So why don't we? Our time is just as valuable. I'm not saying go out and sue all your people. I'm saying get better at talking about it, get better at setting the expectations, and then letting them know what's going to happen. And if they don't comply, you choose to cut them loose or keep working with them. But if you're going to keep working with them, then you enforce the rules, right? There are going to be some agencies out there that are going to start flat fee services. You're going to see a lot of those. And again, I'm going to call those disruptors. They disrupt things for a period of time. It doesn't always become the new norm. They will be your competition, but are they really your competition? If someone's charging a flat fee, are they giving the same level of service that I am? I don't know that. You need to look into that. But there may be some flat fee arrangements that are out there. You may even see some agents charging a retainer fee, right? Because if I'm going to invest my time and energy and money, and I don't even know if you're going to buy a house, and I don't even know if I'm going to get paid my fee, my time's got to be worth something. So you might see some hourly rates. You may see some flat fee charges, but just be aware that that could happen. There could be fair fee sharing, which is just agents can propose a fee sharing arrangement. This is going to be very similar to your listing agreement that you have right now where you're agreeing to pay a buyer's agent. So if you've been paying attention to any of these Facebook groups or posts in the masterminds and things like that, people are saying, oh my gosh, I'm not going to work with buyers anymore. I'm just going to go out and go look for listings. Well, I think that's a mistake. I do think you should continue to work with sellers, continue to work, but you also should continue to work with buyers. Because if we don't, what's going to happen is the disruptor who will enter the market is someone that is trying to encourage someone to buy a house online with a couple clicks of a button for a flat fee. And I want you to think of all the dangers that could happen when that happens. Think about all the iBuyers that entered the industry, the make me an offer, the Mark Spain's, the all the buyers out, all those iBuyers out there that basically went and bought houses, so there's no open house and there's no showings and there's no blah blah blah. How much money did sellers leave on the table by buying those, by using those services? Right? Your buyers are in the same position. It's our responsibility to make sure they know what could go wrong if you choose to work with a disruptor that charges a flat fee. What other services are you giving up? What other representation are you giving up? What could go wrong in that situation? Right? You've got to work on your negotiation skills to fight for your money. And most of you, like I said, you won't even fight for your client on a home inspection. So how am I going to expect you to fight for your own paycheck? And I'm just telling you, you're going to have to get better at inserting your value and making sure that they know how you get paid. You might see some closing cost credits. Agents can negotiate with the sellers to secure closing cost credits, which then might pay your fee. So in the height of the market, the sellers market that we had in Tennessee, where everybody was open. I'm sure it was the same here too. I know it was because I was trying to buy a house for 2 years here, where all the buyers were basically saying, we'll give you over ask price, over list price. We don't need an inspection. We don't even need an appraisal. I might even send your kid to college if you just let me buy this house, right? We had the same situation. But one of the ways that I was successful in winning multiple offers in that market is that we would agree to pay the seller's closing costs as the buyer. Instead of throwing money at the sales price, we said we'll pay the buyer's agent fee, which is typically what's going to be coming, right? Or the buyer is going to be responsible for a lot of that fee. You still can negotiate things. You can bump up the price. You can change the terms. In Tennessee, we have 26 different terms to play with. You can do the same thing in North Carolina or whatever state you're in. What terms can you play with that are not just the price, that can help you save money for your client so that they're not coming out of pocket as much? You're going to see package deals. Like I said, I mentioned my bundle. That's an example of that, where if I'm giving you enough value, then paying my fee doesn't seem so big because you're getting all this other stuff included, right? You need to host some seminars. You need to talk people through, what does this lawsuit mean for you? What does this lawsuit mean for you as a seller? And a lot of agents, my advice to you is you need to tell the sellers not much is changing except for the difference. There are some sellers out there now who can choose to put zero as the cooperating compensation. In the market, when it's shifting, is that wise to put zero when you have a house that's sitting on the market and you're not getting traffic and you need attention? Is it wise to put zero? That's what your job is, to advise the client whether or not that makes sense or not, right? Is that going to hurt the seller's chance of selling their house if they do that? You need to talk them through this and make sure they understand. Just because they can doesn't mean they should, right? We talked about transparency. I feel like I'm blue in the face about that. And then payment plans. You may have to institute some kind of payment plan that allows your client to pay it over time. That will be dependent upon your brokerage, right? I've given you guys some resources here. NAR actually has a website dedicated to talking about this. A lot of people are asking, where's the billions of dollars coming from? They're afraid, a lot of companies are disjoining the National Association of Realtors or changing companies because their company was named in one of the lawsuits. Honey, most of the companies are going to be named in some lawsuit or another that are going to trickle down from this. So moving is not the answer unless you're just not happy where you are. That's one thing. But moving is not going to change the lawsuit. You also there's so much money going to go back and forth between counter lawsuits and appeals that no money is actually going to change hands anytime soon. So don't worry about who's paying for that right now. You need to worry about how do I prepare my business for the changes that are to come. I've also given you some other links to some other articles. And then if you really want to get nerdy and know all about it, the last page, there's some recommended resources and links for you. But my goal for you guys would be really hone your skills, of your presentational skills about how you get paid, be super transparent with your clients about what that looks like and what could happen if the seller says zero compensation to the buyer's agent. What does that mean? And then the other part is just insert your value and stick to your guns about choosing who do I want to work with. And if someone is not your target client and they're not willing to commit to you, move along. Go find somebody who is, right? Review that list of 180 some things that agents do and get really good at communicating that better to the consumer so that they know what your value is. Don't rely on the National Association of Realtors to do that for you. Don't rely on your agency to do that for you. Don't rely on the listing agent to do that or your teammate or whoever. You've got to be good at explaining what you do and how you earn your money. The other thing is, I think people forget this is how we feed our families. A lot of consumers think this is a hobby. They see us, some agents have part-time jobs or full-time jobs and do this on the side. You need to remind people this is how I feed my family. This is how I provide. This is how my kid gets to go to dance lessons or gymnastics. My kid gets to play travel baseball, whatever that is. But when we roll up in a Lexus and our Rolex and all the other things, they see us as making too much money. Did I work hard for that? Absolutely. I worked 100 hours a week for years and years and years and years. I worked hard for the things that I find that I want in my life. But you've got to be better at explaining to a consumer why you're there to protect them and their best interests. They don't care about your kid going to gymnastics or softball, but we need to remind them that, right? Because then they try to get us to give discounts. Every client in 25 years that I've ever given a discount to did not need it. In 1 year, I added up all the discounts I gave, and it was over $78,000. That's more than some agents make their whole year. So be careful and cautious about who you're giving your discount to. Now I will open up the floor to any questions you got.
I was gonna say I want to leave some time for questions. My big takeaways, and I'll let everyone jump into. I think I want to emphasize again when you said dealing with this up front. So most people on this call know I also have a home inspection business. And when you start out in business, real estate, home inspection, whatever it is, you're so afraid of losing business. You're like, oh, I don't want to. And then we would have no shows and people wasting our time. But now that's the way we smoke them out. Hey, if you can't even commit to me up front, don't waste my time. And new agents, you'll learn this fast. Like, don't come crying to me 6 months later when you've showed them 100 houses and they wasted your time and da-da-da-da. It's like, well, did you have this conversation? Oh, no, because they said they wouldn't sign it and they weren't going to work with me. And, you'll learn quickly. So I love that you said that. And I think at this present day that I think that's what's really important. Like you said, harping on your buyer's presentation, lots of scripting, lots of role play. First things first, like you've got to secure the client. So I think really that's what agents should be focusing on, especially because like you said, it's going to be years to there's actual change. So we know what we're dealing with now, right? We can't predict like, oh, financing agreements and rolling it into loans or whatever. We know what it is now. Yeah. And I actually think the NAR is a good opportunity. I've had like people who just friends like, oh, did you see this? Yeah, I saw it. Okay, yes. I'm a realtor. I understand. So use it as an opportunity to like almost break that ice. Like, because before the NAR, they're like, it was that weird, icky conversation, like, ooh, I don't want to talk about it. Now you're like, hey, have you heard about this NAR case?
Yeah.
Go over that and see what that means. So it's almost like a better opportunity to have that conversation. And then let me ask you one quick question. If what was like the smoking gun? Like, because at the end of the day, sellers are signing a listing agreement that says, hey, you're paying a 6% fee or whatever. Like, what did these lawsuits actually hang their hat on that like you did this wrong so we can avoid that?
It was definitely a bait and from what I've read, it was a bait and switch. It was kind of like they actually felt like they conspired together to keep and again, we don't talk about average or normal commissions because they're different everywhere. But let's say that the number was 6. They felt like they conspired to keep the number at 6, which infringed upon competition, infringed upon a global marketplace that's open to variety. It's almost like the antitrust. They were trying to say that they colluded together to keep the rate here, and that was unfair. And then they also said the bait and switch part was that the seller said that it was never explained to them that they were also paying the buyer's agent commission and that was not their responsibility to do so.
It like blows my mind because do I read my whole Apple iTunes contract? No.
Nobody.
If I could enforce it one day, I'd be like, that's fair. I signed it.
I am seeing in some of my coaching clients, some of the brokerages that I consult with, the brokerage owners, I am seeing disclosures come down the pike already that are saying, even though in your listing agreement and in your buyer broker agreement, it's probably spelled out, but this is a one sheet disclosure that says, this is how we get paid. And here's what you need to know about how that's being paid right now. I am seeing some brokerages sending out some additional disclosures that are in development to make sure that it is crystal clear. It's like a wire fraud warning. We have it in 12 places, right? We're going to have this in 12 places, and they're going to have to initial and sign in 14 places saying they understand how we get paid. That's the smoking gun that came up, was they felt like it was not explained in a way that they understood, and that meant that we overcharged them because it wasn't their responsibility to pay the buyer's agent's fee.
Yeah, that's just so crazy to me that they proved it well enough that a jury was said yes. That's
agreed, and that's how everybody feels, is that how could this have won? But it's really the bottom line is that, again, they are thinking about what's in the best protection and the best for the consumer. And at the end of the day, if we get better at explaining it, that's in what's best protection of the consumer. If they understand everything, they can make their own decisions, right? But they've got to understand it.
Okay, cool. I'll zip it now. We have about 10 minutes left. Anyone else on the call have any burning questions for Laura? Anybody? You just explained it so well that we have no questions. So Laura, like, I guess, so if anyone, feel free to unmute yourself if you have questions. Do you as a coach, like, are you putting specific coaching together for buyer consultations? Like, do you have scripts, like stuff like that? I think that would be so helpful to agents.
Yes. So what I'm working on is putting together basically how to fight for your money, how to explain, because again, that's the one thing agents don't like talking about, really. Like, they feel uncomfortable, they feel icky, they feel salesy talking about how they get paid. They'd rather brush it under the rug. That's why so many don't charge their clients. Like, if there's a difference between what's offered and what their fee is because they don't like asking. They're afraid the person might say no, and then it becomes uncomfortable, right? And so I'm trying to put together some more information for, these are the things that I have said to fight for my money in the past. These are some things I think you need to get better at explaining and saying and scripting so that it doesn't feel so icky for you. But again, it starts with the mindset. You've got to stop seeing yourself as a salesperson. Not in sales. You're providing an executive level of service, and that demands and commands an amount of money. Julia has a question, I think.
Well, and just a follow-up statement that even before this lawsuit, I have been saying that very clearly from the beginning, and I am grateful to whoever drilled that into me from early on. And 3 times in the last year, I've been like, they're offering 2.5%, but we've discussed our agency fee is 3%. So this extra percent will be added onto your or 0.5%. Yeah. And I've gone so far as to have them sign that and send it to the lawyers so that it's like, we have acknowledged this conversation. And I have never had pushback on that yet. I'm sure I will. Somebody out there that will. Yeah. But the upfront and knowing and justifying that, and I have no problem justifying what I'm doing for my clients. It's not as big a deal. I am not super worried about this because
you shouldn't be. You really shouldn't be. And I'm glad that you said that. And I agree with you. More often than not, the ones you talk about early on, they're not going to have a problem because you've already told them it could happen. They've already prepared themselves for the fact that it could, and they are prepared monetarily to do whatever they need to because they know you're worth it, right? It's the ones that you don't talk to about it because you're scared to. And then all of a sudden it happens and you're like, oh, by the way, my fee is X. And they're like, well, we didn't talk about this. I don't have that money set aside. Then it will be your decision. Do I want to continue to work with you? Right. But the problem is it's too late in the game. You've already written a contract for them. You're already knee deep in it. So you can't back out at that point. You'd look like the fool. Right. So early on is 100%. I'm glad that you have had success in doing that. I agree 100% that early on is better. And I don't want you to worry about this. This isn't something, this is kind of what I'm getting at, is that as agents, this is not something we need to panic about. It's not something we need to worry about. People are still always going to buy and sell homes, always. They're going to buy and sell homes from someone. Is it going to be you or is it going to be someone else? Right? It's going to be me because I'm going to be prepared. It's going to be you because you've done what it takes to make sure they know that you're worth the fee because you've shown them what could go wrong. But they're going to buy from somebody. I'd rather it be you than some computer program with fill in the blanks because that is dangerous. I don't want that for them.
Yeah. Lena typed in the chat. Well, Kyla said it was excellent. Thank you. Lena said aha moment for package. Yeah, I'm honestly, my biggest thought is like we need to have a follow-up hour of like scripting role play for buyer's package. I think that would be awesome. And then yeah, Jamaica also said thank you. So yeah, yeah, Kyla's in for it. So yeah, Laura, how again can they reach you if they ever want to reach out for coaching services or any of the other resources you have?
So my company is called RE Coach Crate. You can find us on all the socials under that name. And you can go to recoachcrate.com. It's just a landing page right now. We're in development for the website, but you can find me on all the socials at RE Coach Crate for sure. I do have let me throw one more thing in here if you don't mind.
Yeah.
As I here.
So Zandy said, pardon my ignorance, but did this all come about because an agent tried to enforce the contract with their fee and the buyer seller didn't want to pay?
No, unfortunately, it all came apart. It came about because sellers actually sued these brokerages and the National Association of Realtors because they did not feel the way that we were compensated was fair to them. They did not feel like it was explained to them that they were then paying the other agent's fee. And instead of just saying, the listing agent in their listing agreement could have said, hey, this is my fee and what I do with it is my business. But instead they said, we give part of that to the buyer's agent. And that is what caused the problem because the seller did not feel like that is what was explained to them. It was, we were told we had to pay 6% or whatever the fee was. And part of that fee was to pay the buyer's agent. And that was what they felt was a bait and switch. That was not the way that the industry, they don't want the industry to work that way anymore, is the point. They want buyers to be responsible for their own fees and sellers to be responsible for their own fees. But that is going to cause a problem financially for some people because we are one, most Americans, I will say, are one catastrophe away from poverty. They are one paycheck away from financial destruction. And that makes it very hard for them to come up with a down payment, plus their closing costs, plus your fee, which is why I said you're going to have to also, one of the things I didn't talk about was you're also going to have to help your clients save more money. Give them budgets, give them checklists, give them saving guides, give them tips and strategies on how to save more money. Because that's the one part that they are really struggling with is how do I come up with enough money to pay my down payment and my closing costs and all my out-of-pocket expenses, my due diligence fee and all this stuff, plus your fee, right? So you don't need to be scared about this, but you need to arm yourself with tools and resources that make you a better agent, that make you prepared for whatever change is going to come down the pipe.
Yeah, totally. I love that. And Lena did ask for your social link as well. I think I put RE Coach Crate in there, correct?
Yeah,
feel free to share your social. So yeah, we'll wrap it up with that. But like I said, Laura, I'm gonna chat with you offline about setting up a buyer's consultation because like I thought people don't even realize, this NAR conversation has sparked this whole thing. But I know agents who build in TC fees, admin fees, like you guys don't realize how you can craft your business to really serve you and your client and reduce costs. And then I also like what you said about involving lenders, because like you said, lenders have these tools, down payment assistance. A lot of lenders we're seeing come up with their own down payment assistance. I know Movement Mortgage is doing stuff like that. So anyway, just always be learning, and I really appreciate your time.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate just being able to share with you guys. And I'm always available for resources. I'm not the guy that's always trying to sell you something. I want to help you be better agents. I definitely want to help. Part of my passion at this point in my career is leaving a legacy behind and an impact on our industry. And that's what fuels my tank. So I appreciate you just inviting me to share and allowing me to help support your group. So thank you so much. And I'm here if you guys have any other questions. I would love to do some more scripting and helping you guys fight for your money better. Okay.
I love it. Cool. Thank you so much. Everyone have a great day. Laura, you might have to end the meeting because I made you host. So you're going to have to.
You got it.
Have a great day.
Thank you.